Hi, I'm Dan Danford, and we're doing another episode of Money Made Easy for dadsdivorce.com. We've got a question from one of the viewers of the website, and it's an excellent way to get started today. 401k versus IRA. What's the difference? What are the pros and cons of each? Well, before we jump into the pros and cons and the specifics of each, we need to talk about the big area of tax-free compounding. Okay, because that's the key to success with both of these products. I guess the easy way to start with is, we'll just keep it really simple, and we'll talk about a bank certificate. If you buy a bank certificate for $10,000 and it pays you 5% interest, then at the end of the year, assuming that you have it added back to the CD, which is what most people do, then the CD is worth $10,500. So the next year, instead of earning 5% on $10,000, it's going to earn 5% on $10,500. Okay, and that just keeps growing for as long as you have the CD and as long as you have the interest added to it. Now, here's the glitch, and you may not see this, but when I explain it to you, I think you'll understand it. And that's that even though you had that CD at the bank and you added that 5% to it, you paid taxes on that 5%. Okay? You may not have seen it come out of the 5%, but somewhere or another when you filed your tax return that year, you had to pay some income tax on that $500. So even though it didn't come out of the account, in truth, you're really compounding on $10,400 and you added another $100 into it. Now I know that all seems a little complicated, but that's really the difference between tax-free compounding and taxable compounding. In the typical bank product, you have to pay taxes on that money every year. In a retirement account, whether it's an IRA or a 401k, that 5% is added on. There's no tax bite at all, and your money then continues to grow at that faster rate. Okay, so that is the magic behind any kind of tax-free compounding. Now, most people are probably familiar with the 401k. A 401k allows tax-free compounding within the context of your employer's retirement plan. So what I'm going to do is every year or every month when I get paid, I'm going to direct my employer to take a little bit of that money out, and instead of paying it to me in cash, to deposit it to my 401k account. So let's say it's $100, okay? So at the end of the year, I will have contributed $100 a month to that plan, $1,200. Besides the money going into the plan and compounding tax-free in the future, I didn't have to pay any taxes on that money when it went in. So the federal tax and the state tax that would have been paid on that $100 don't have to be paid. So the whole $100 goes in the account, even though had I taken the money in cash, I probably would have only gotten $70 in cash. So immediately, you have more money working for you than you would if you took the money out in cash. On top of that, most employers offer an incentive for you to participate. So maybe, let's just, for sake of discussion, let's say they match 100%. Okay? So now when you put that $100 in the account, they also put $100 in the account. Now remember, you were only going to get $70 out of that in cash to spend, but now you've got $200 in the account, and it grows tax-free year after year. It compounds. That's why, because of all these things, that's why the money in a 401k account grows so quickly. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people I've worked with over the years who said, oh, well, it ain't going to add up very quick. And then 5 or 10 years later, they look down and realize they've got $10,000 or $15,000 there. Okay, their eyes light up. Because when you see how quickly it grows, it's pretty amazing. Okay? So, and then the other thing that's really nice about a 401k plan is you typically have choices on how it's invested. So if you're aggressive and you want to put it into a growth stock mutual fund, then maybe that tax-free compounding over time, not in any particular quarter, but over time might grow at like 10% a year. If you're more conservative, maybe you want to put it in a bond fund or a money market fund where it'll compound at 3% or 5% a year. That's up to you. The key is that all of this has taken place in a tax-free environment. Okay? So that's a 401k plan. It's within the context of working someplace. Now, an IRA account has many of the same principles, many of the same features, except it's an individual retirement account. Okay? I do this on my own. I decide to set this up personally, have the money deposited to an account where it will grow tax-free. And in most cases, I can govern how that's invested as well. I can do it through a mutual fund family, I can do it through a bank, I can do whatever, and I can control that. When I put the money in the account, depending on my circumstances, I may be able to save taxes on it as well. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details here because it gets pretty complicated, but basically, you may be able to make a tax-free IRA contribution if your family income does not exceed a certain level and if you do not participate in a retirement plan at the office. Okay? If one of those two conditions is met, then you may still make an IRA contribution, you just may not get the tax savings on it when you do it. So, but those are all nuances. The main thing is an IRA account is a personal account, a 401k account is an employer account. Now, in both cases, you take the money out in retirement and pay taxes on it. Okay? So when you decide at age 59 and a half or when you leave your employer's employment, if you decide to take money out of the account, then you will pay taxes on that money. Okay? If you take money out before age 59 and a half, in either case, then you have to pay a 10% penalty plus taxes. But it's still a really good deal because two things. Number one, the money grew so fast over such a long period of time because of the tax-free compounding that you still come out ahead even if you have to pay taxes on it. That's one thing. But the other thing is there's the possibility that you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement than you are today. So even if you got out exactly the same money you put in, which isn't likely over a 30-year period of time of putting money in there, you would be better off if you take it out then and pay a lower tax on it than if you kept the money today and pay a higher tax on it. In most cases, most financial advisors will tell you that the 401k is the first place to save for most families. Partly because of the tax savings, partly because of the tax-free compounding, but largely because of the employer's match. No place else are you going to put money away and have somebody else add to it automatically. After that 401k retirement plan, then an IRA may make sense for you and your family depending on your circumstances. Most advisors would tell you that one or the other or both are the first and best way to save, and only after you've maximized those do you start investing outside of the retirement arena, okay, with after-tax money. In any case, I hope that gave you some information that's helpful about 401k plans and IRA plans. I've been working with these for 25 or 30 years. They're the closest thing to magic that most families will be able to touch. And so I really encourage you to use your 401k if it's available or set up an IRA if the 401k isn't available. That's it for another episode of Money Made Easy. For Dad's Divorce, I'm Dan Danford.